Adding Perspective with Josh. I'm Josh.
I'm Coach Nrgy.
And I'm Emmanuel.
All right. This week we're going to talk about opposite sex trends and what are the rules to this when you're in a relationship, right? Like when you have opposite sex trends, what kind of rules are there, with those particular individuals when you're in a relationship? And, you got to have some rules. You got to have some standards. You got to have some guidelines. You got to have some things. Hey, you should say this. You should not say this right here. Don't say this right here. Okay. And a lot of times, depending on, to me, and this is my perception of it, a lot of times when you have a friend, opposite sex friend that, they may have been your friend for 10, 15, 20 years, whatever the case may be. Those lines are, you're comfortable, right? Like some people get very comfortable with what they say and what they don't say. And I think that causes a problem in a lot of relationships when you have long-term opposite sex trends. But what do you guys think? Like opposite sex trends, is that like, good thing, bad thing? It's okay as long as there's some kind of rules. What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Emmanuel.
For me, it's not a problem at all. Honestly, it's just a friend that's the opposite sex, right? So not a problem at all, but, there should be ways that, your partner should be governing themselves whilst, having those relationships with the opposite sex. So for me, the biggest thing is just transparency with what's going on. I would like to hear about this person prior to you guys doing anything, not just, oh yeah, I'm going out with Joe. He's been my friend for 20 years and I've never heard of Joe, right? So my thing is like, I need to be in the loop as far as to who this person is, little side conversations about them in passing, or, oh yeah, guess what? He hit me up today. We're talking about this and that. That gives me comfort to be confident to say, hey, y'all going out, great. I would like to meet them, depending on the frequency of the going out, the outings. So if it's a situation where, the friends are going out a lot, at some point I'm going to want to meet this guy, right? Doesn't have to be the first outing, as long as those things I said prior have happened. Talking to him, hearing about him is enough for me to feel comfortable with an event. But if it's going to be, okay, yeah, we're going out again, then at this point, I'm going to want to meet this guy. And the frequency of those events or those outings then starts to play a role as well. So I try not to be overbearing, but for me, there's got to be a reasonable level of due diligence when it comes to just making me aware of this person, their actual role in your life, and their intentions. So that's kind of my take on it.
Yeah,
just a little due diligence. That's it. I'm not calling you every hour. I'm not following you. I'm not mandating that I'm there. I've heard some things like that. If there's going to be this guy there, then I need to be there. It's not to that extremity for me, but I just need to be in the loop.
Yeah, you need to be able to what now? What's that last one?
In the loop.
Oh, okay.
In the fruit.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I was waiting for that last part right there.
I need to be in the loop. Yeah. That's my thing.
Nrgy, what you got?
So what I say is it really just depends on each relationship, both of the couples. If they both agree that it's okay for them both to have friends of the opposite sex, then cool. Then they set their own boundaries, they set their own rules, they set the regulations of how they can interact with, that particular friend. Or if both people, say, hey, we both agree that we're not cool with it, so neither one of us will, then, that's it. For me, it's not a, one size fits all type of thing, but I would say for those who do have those types of friends within, and they're in a relationship, then for me, it's just all about respect, making sure that you respect your person, you put your person first, because once it comes down to where that person's friend is taking priority over you, then that, becomes an issue for me. And that's when I say, oh, okay, I don't know, if you may need to go back to the drawing board when it comes to having this friend, and you're now in a relationship. If you can't separate your friendship versus where the priority of where your partner stands, then that becomes an issue. But if both people are okay with it, then, whatever works for them, works for them. As long as both people are in agreement and there's no like double standards, then I think it's fine.
Yeah. So what do y'all think about a person having an opposite sex friend that possibly hit on them before?
Yeah, no. So see, you gotta let that go. No.
That's a no deal.
Right.
That's a no deal.
Nope.
But what if it was like back in the day, like, not recent, but like,
doesn't matter, because they've already confirmed that there are feelings there, so that's just too sticky to have that person around. You never know of that person's motives or their intentions. You never know, if that person really has your best interest at heart, if you're going and confiding in them and, you have an issue with your partner and you're calling your friend and you're hanging out with your friend because you need to vent or whatever. Never know what that person, the advice that they're going to give you, if it's truly good advice. Nah.
Now I will say that I've had instances where I've had friends where there was a little bit of history. Okay. And it wasn't always a resurface of history. It wasn't. Personally, that's not something that I'm 100% opposed to, because it's not a guarantee that there's going to be a resurfacing of history. But, and I hate to bring gender into this, but I have to. My biggest concern from the woman's standpoint would be if this person wanted to make a move on you, you denied him or you rejected him, and then your safety was put into question. That would be my biggest thing. I trust my partner. I'm not trying to bar them from people who they deem their friend. But from a woman's standpoint, generally, the male is the bigger, more aggressive, person. And I would just be more concerned about the safety of her if he was denied and he wasn't very receptive of that denial. I do believe that, the past is the past. Sometimes it can resurface. If it did resurface, then that's a different situation. You shut it down. You see how the person responds to the shutdown. If they still keep pushing, then you cut that person off, because now they could become, cancerous to your relationship. But some people are able to say, all right, what happened. We still had a great relationship even outside of that. We cool, we good people, and that's kind of where it stays. So that's just my take on that. It's not, I don't like the double standard thing. It technically is a double standard, but I'm really not opposed to it. I'm just concerned about safety. I know for the 99% of the time, I'm not messing with no women that can beat me up or kill me or getting that close to a woman like that. But yeah, it's just
you don't know that, man. Shoot,
oh yeah, I do.
I mean, shoot.
I ain't messing with no big girls like that.
They don't gotta be big. They don't gotta be like that.
But at the end of the day, that's why I say if anybody tries to make an advance, gets rejected, and keeps trying, then you gotta cut them off. But that can happen in one incident with a woman versus a man, and that man can immediately respond a certain way. And now, I just feel like there's a higher risk of safety becoming a concern. It's the safety concept for me.
Yeah. Oh, okay. We'll go with that.
That's literally my only concern.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it comes down to, do you trust your partner? Who cares how someone feels about him or her if you trust your partner, they're going to make the right decision to handle it accordingly. That's literally how I think. If you don't trust your partner, then maybe there's bigger issues you guys need to address. Now, we're not encouraging them to be in an environment that's uncomforting to you, but if you trust them, they're going to do the right thing. And that's kind of where I'm at on that. That's where I'm at on that.
So yeah, say for instance, right? Like you have this friend you've known for a long time, friend of the opposite sex, whatever. Should they be talking about inappropriate stuff with each other?
No.
not to each other, but just in general.
You're talking about like sexual things?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think I haven't experienced that, so I'm just now hearing this and digesting this. But this is not something I think that I would want happening. She could talk about that with me.
What if that's how she has, if that's her friend?
Yeah.
And, that's how they talk. They have an open relationship. They're free to talk about all these different topics and subjects. And, but they're not making advances to each other, as Josh said, but they still talk about the subjects or those topics. You trust her though. So you're still okay with that, with your girl, your woman, keeping that friend around, even though they're talking about things that you would not like?
I guess my biggest concern would be why is she not talking about that with me? That's my first.
Maybe, but she's still talking about it with her friend because that's their thing. That's one of the many topics that they discuss. It's not that she's not talking to you about it either, but that's just one of the things that they also, kiki and haha about as well.
I guess it depends on the frequency of it. I guess it depends on the frequency of it and the detail behind the conversation, right? So those are two things I'm going to be looking to gain clarity on: is the frequency of these conversations and the detail that they're going into. Like, I'm not a restrictive person, right? So I really try not to restrict folks. I really try my hardest not to restrict folks. So I know that if I had a girl best friend, that could come up, and I would engage if I felt like it was necessary. So I don't want to just sit here and say, if that ever happens, I'm not for it, because that's life. And sometimes your mate is going to, your mate's going to tell you you get used to what your mate's going to tell you. So you may want a perspective outside of that. So I get that, but the frequency of it is a big hot button for me, and the detail behind the conversations, that would kind of dictate whether I was okay with that or not.
Yeah. So the only reason why I said that, because it's so funny. The reason why this topic mainly came up is because I have a female opposite sex best friend, right? And we have known each other for like 20 years, right? And like she's married, she has her own situations and stuff like that happen and stuff like that. Of course, I'm in a relationship too and stuff like that. But like from time to time, that whole thing has come up. Like, we that cool, we talk about that kind of stuff or whatever, not with each other or nothing like that, but that does come up or whatever. But my thing about that though is that I know that there's a line. She knows that there's a line. And then also we tell our partners too, like she tell her husband, I tell my partner or whatever. And there's a understanding all the way around, you know what I'm saying? So that's the biggest thing, because if you do have a friendship that is that close and stuff like that, there needs to be transparency all the way around. Like, everybody needs to be able to know. Like, dot all your T's, cross all your I's, like everything. Because you don't ever want a person to feel like they missing something. Like there's like something missing out of that whole equation. So So yeah, that's the main reason why they came up, because like I said, hey, it's out there, right? Like people do have opposite sex best friends and stuff like that. But I think that I guess where people kind of get that whole blurred line theory is because of that transparency. Like a lot of people think that it's something that they don't need to tell their partner. You know what I'm saying? Like it's something that they don't need to say, but they do. You know, like they do need to say these things. Yeah. And that just gets a lot of people in trouble. Like a lot of people. It gets a lot of people in trouble because it's just, you know, certain details are left out of the story. You know? And that's not always the best idea. No.
But you know, sometimes people have partners who may not be on a certain maturity level, right? Or they may not trust them, you know, and they know that if certain conversations or certain things come up, there's going to be immediate resistance. It's going to be, you know, restrictive measures in place, and they rather not deal with that. You know, which I'm not saying that's good, but I think that's kind of why that happens a lot. You know, in those cases that you were referring to, is there's a deeper rooted issue that has yet to be addressed in the relationship. Yeah,
I'll see that too.
Yeah,
I'll see that too. So, what is you guys' theory on if you're in a relationship with somebody? And of course, they have their, you know, day one people, which is people they've known forever. But what's your whole principle about new friends, right? Like new opposite sex friends. Like, is that okay to have new opposite sex best friends?
I mean, this guy should be covering both of my best friends. As soon as you meet him, I meet him. Right. So he should be my best friend too. Hey, that's the only way you're gonna have a new best friend. If he a best friend of the relationship. Oh yeah, you know, I just met this guy, you know, in my class, or you know, oh yeah, you know, we can do it together. We don't know this guy right now, you know. So we get best friends, or best friends of the relationship.
Yeah,
they're not your personal best friend.
Yeah,
that's my take. We just got a new best friend.
I hear you. Shoot.
Oh man. That's funny.
Ain't playing that.
That's hilarious.
It's a common effort to become a best friend. So.
I mean, it does, you know?
Yes.
It does, but think about it from these areas, though, right? Like, say, for instance, your partner, they go to workout classes, or just any type of class, or whatever the case may be, you know, building up that, you know.
I'm going too. I'm going too. Hey, your partner going to the gym by themselves? I don't know. I don't know. They need to keep going to the gym with your partner. Okay? They need to go to the gym by themselves so much that they got this friend you don't even know about.
Oh, man.
That's a problem.
Nrgy, what's your take on that?
I'm right there with them. Like, no, you don't get a new one. We need to vet this person together.
Oh man,
yeah,
that's hilarious. Man,
it's like when you know, I've seen this a lot, haven't experienced it a lot, but like, you know, when you're in a relationship and new people come into the picture, you do those things together. Like, oh, okay, yeah, me and my wife, or me and my husband, or, you know, we can do this, or we can catch up here. So I think that's all a part of the trust, the comfort of, you know, being inclusive, you know, making sure that your partner is very well placed in front of everything that's going on, so that there's no confusion, there's no, you know, gray area where they believe that it's anything more than just a friendship.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. Like I said, that's always interesting though about new friends. You know, like you want to have a good policy about that. You want to have a real good policy about that.
Yeah, that sounds like a escape route. That sounds like I need some intervention going on. If we don't have a new friend, then there needs to be some intervention.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. 'Cause, I mean, that can get a little sketchy. Get a little sketch right there. But what about just going back to the old premise of having a friend you've known for a while, though. What are the rules, right? Like, if you got a friend, a friend you've had for a while, is late night phone calls acceptable? Like, no. I'm talking about 11:30, 12 o'clock.
Absolutely not.
1 o'clock.
It could be an emergency. It could be an emergency.
If it's an emergency, cool. Okay, outside of an emergency,
maybe something happened. Maybe, for all we know, your best friend is in a relationship themselves, and they had a big argument, and they want to talk to you. Maybe they can't talk to their partner because that's obviously got to settle down. So they want to talk to you, tell you what happened, ask you if they tripping, ask you if their partner tripping, but they can't talk to their partner. So you, as their best friend, especially being the opposite sex, you can probably help them understand a lot more about what's going on. And that can happen at 11:30 at night. I know that's what you're about to say. You're about to say, that'll have to happen at 11:30 at night.
Exactly. You better wait until 8 o'clock the next morning. That's not an emergency. They better use patience and use that time to get their thoughts together. Because see, this is the thing with friends. It cannot encroach on your relationship. It can't encroach on your household. Like the respectable times, the respectable things and topics, all of those, set those parameters. So for me, that's a no-go. That's not an emergency. Let them go vent, go to sleep, wake up the next morning, and then catch me up on what happened. You're waking me or my partner up out of our sleep and at 11:30 at night.
What if y'all were awake?
Okay, we're up watching movies. No.
What if he's awake and maybe, I don't know, he's doing some work and you were just...
He's working. Don't bother him. He's working.
Yeah, but he working in the office and you in the room watching your little shows.
Yeah, he working. No, because it's the hours. No, you have to be respectful when it comes to the hours of the night. You can't just have people calling you at 12 o'clock at night.
But you got to think about, that's why, for me, everything is frequency. Everything's about frequency. Because that's how you determine extremity, is like through frequency. So if one time out of the year, this person called, and they've never called this late before, they call you one time, they're crying, they're distraught, they think it's an emergency. Maybe it's not to you, but they think it is. And they just try to get advice and counsel so that they can ease their mind in that moment. You gonna say, nope, can't talk to you.
8 a.m.
And this is assuming you're awake, right? Not that you're asleep and they're disturbing you and your partner's sleep. Like, you're up, you're awake. He's up, he's awake. Y'all were doing things that y'all weren't doing the things together, and you were free to talk. Are you talking? Are you saying that that's too late?
Yes, because it's not respectful. Period. That's why business has hours. There's business hours. You know what I'm saying? So no, you gotta have a cutoff time. You have to have your own personal time to where you and your partner agree that after this time at night, we're not going to let anyone call or come in or disrupt, because this is our personal time. This is, or whether we're resting, or if this is just the time that we have together to watch movies or cuddle up or whatever the case may be, you still have to have some sort of boundaries. And so for me, it's about that boundary not being crossed.
Okay.
Josh, what's your thoughts? Because you haven't answered any of these questions. Has he?
I had to agree to disagree on that one. I do get what Nrgy is saying, and I agree with it, but I think there's exceptions to everything, right? And that's why I say if it starts to happen regularly, or there's a heightened frequency, that's where you gotta I would honestly address that person. Let them know, like, hey, look, you calling this late. My partner and I were asleep half the time. It's just, it's not respectful to our relationship. Please, can we do this around more reasonable hours? But one time, that's it. I think.
Mm-hmm. Right. This is the one time a year I actually agree with Emmanuel. So
he said the one time a year.
One time a year. This is one time a year. I actually agree with him. Okay. Any other time? Nope. We don't agree. We ain't agreeing. No.
Hey man, finally, it took a whole year.
Right.
It did.
Woo.
It did.
Woo.
This is your early Christmas gift. This right here. Disagree right here.
You better remember this episode.
Oh yeah. Finally, Josh agrees with me.
No,
have
but
you ever been that friend, or have you experienced that before?
What? The whole somebody calling you late
night call. Or you just hypothetically would agree?
I've experienced that, yeah. But it wasn't like after midnight type situation and then like that. But I would say it was good 11:30, 11:45, 15 minutes before, Yeah. Yeah.
After midnight. It's midnight.
Yeah, after midnight, hey, that's cut that off right there.
Oh, for real? So you cut it off at midnight?
Yeah. 12, 8.
But you're gonna answer the phone at 11:45.
See?
Hey, you got 15 minutes.
They better talk fast. Hey, bro, they better talk fast.
This man here, give them a talent.
What?
You might as well just not answer the phone.
Exactly.
Look,
I don't think he agrees with you. I think he agrees more with me based off of that.
Hey, I agree.
I don't know. You might not
agree. Okay, I tried.
You don't.
It didn't take. Okay, I tried. Okay.
You got his hopes up. He does not agree with you. No. No, see, he has a cutoff.
I tried.
Yeah. You do have a cutoff. You got a cutoff.
Yep.
I tried to be on your team. I tried. It didn't take. Okay.
You can't have a cutoff for emergencies. Emergencies are that is.
Well, that's not an emergency.
Well, you don't know that it's an emergency. Maybe they're having a mental health emergency. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they need
a mental health.
You're coming up with all these extremes and
you don't know how people perceive things. Just because we may see it one way, they may feel like that conversation with you is just gonna get their mind back on track. It's gonna help them be able to deal with their significant other, and that's all they need right now.
I understand that, but then that can create dependency. So,
well, that's why we talk about frequency. We talk about frequency. See, frequency is key.
Okay, so this is the thing, right? So if late night phone calls are the issue, who do you have the conversation with? Do you have the conversation with your partner, or does your partner have the conversation with their friend? Like, how does that work?
Whoever's friend is calling, that person needs to talk to their friend.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, since you're in the relationship with your partner, does your partner bring it up to you and say, hey, I'm uncomfortable with XYZ, right? And then you in turn go have that conversation with your friend? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I guess it depends on who's fed up first, right? Because if your partner gets fed up the first night, then your partner's gonna probably have that conversation with you, and then you gonna tell your friend.
Yeah.
But some people may have partners that aren't as bothered by it, but then them personally, they just feel like, all right, this might be going a little too far. So then their partner may not even say anything to them, but they might just know that it shouldn't be happening, and they just go straight to their friend and say, all right, look, man, or, hey girl, look, you can't keep doing this. This is not healthy for our relationship. So I guess it just depends on the tolerance of the two people in a relationship. Whoever gets fed up first, because the friend's gonna keep calling. If you keep answering, they're gonna keep calling. So it then comes down to who's fed up of the calls first. And then if it's you can go straight to the friend. If it's your partner gonna go to you, and you gonna go to your friend. Unless your partner has a close relationship with that person, your partner could be comfortable enough to tell them too. They might even yell it while they're on the phone. Stop calling them. or whatever, whatever that looks like. It just depends on the nature of the relationship.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah. I don't ever see that going well. Like, stop calling right now.
I think that happens though.
I know it probably does, but I mean that doesn't help the relationship. Like it doesn't help the relationship.
That's true.
Like especially at 11:45 at night, like it don't really help that relationship at all. Okay, because at that point we stop playing. Okay, we ain't playing no more.
Right. That's true.
We just being disrespectful.
Well, this is assuming it's an emergency. I'm just looking at Nrgy. She's like, "There's no emergency."
Okay, so what if it's not an emergency? What's your response? Like, are you still gonna have this conversation?
No, if it's not an emergency, you gotta get off the phone.
Okay.
I'm like, all right, look, man.
We can talk about this.
Call me tomorrow. I'm glad you're safe. I'm glad everything's okay. We can talk tomorrow. Mm-hmm. That's probably exactly what I said.
Gotcha.
It's not worth it. It's not worth making tension in my relationship. It's just not worth dealing with that. And I probably wouldn't even want to be dealing with it individually. But I'm sure I was doing something that I would have preferred than talking to you. So yeah, I would just end it. It's not an emergency. Now, casual talk at night, that's a problem.
Yeah. See, that's where I'm coming from. Okay.
Yeah. Casual talk need to be shut down immediately.
Okay.
What type of conversation?
Casual talk. Oh yeah, what you doing? If they call you at 11:45 and they talking about what you doing, that's a problem.
Yes.
That's a problem. Okay. Now that's a big problem.
No, but that's your friend.
Oh,
that's your friend.
No. See, ain't nobody just calling you at 11:45 talking about what you're doing. That's a problem. But if it's something, emergency like, you try to gauge.
You might just keep those types of hours, like that might just be your prime time right there, and then they just call it like,
That's true. I mean, depending on the kind of life that you live, some people are up at that time, so that's a good point. Because if somebody's up nighttime hours, then is 11:45 midnight as sensitive?
Right.
Probably not.
Yeah, they could be in a different time zone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They could be in a different time zone. They still should respect it, though. But, I think some people live the nightlife, and that might be their active hours.
Yep.
That's an interesting component to think about.
It is. I think I was talking about myself, too. But, yeah, it is interesting.
Right. He wide awake at 11:30 at night.
You gotta regularly be awake at 11.
Hey.
If you're not regularly awake, then I ain't okay with it. But if everybody who know you know that on any given day you up at midnight, I would be more okay with that.
Yeah, because you have some people whose jobs are like second shift, third shift workers, so their hours are kind of backwards from what's standard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that whole theory about late night calls becomes a little bit more acceptable, doesn't
it? Based on their living, living setup.
Right.
Third shift, fourth shift, whatever, it becomes a little bit more acceptable, doesn't it?
Yeah, if they work in third shift, it's a little bit more acceptable.
3.5 shift, a little bit more acceptable. Mm-hmm.
Not a lot, just a little.
I mean, I think the main premise of this whole conversation is there had to be some set of rules, some set of guidelines for people to operate in with same or opposite sex couples or opposite sex friends, because like I said, if there's no rules at all, I mean, it's like a wild, wild west. You just do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everybody can say what they want, do what they want, and everybody else just be mad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, like Nrgy said, I think it all depends on the two people in the relationship. So different people got different levels of tolerance for different behaviors. So, that has to be established. It has to be established what's acceptable and what isn't. Mm-hmm. And then between those two people, they'll operate off of whatever they agree to be decent.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the safest bet. I don't think it's a one size fits all,
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a one size fits all thing either. The most, I guess, out there thing that I've seen is that people have two people have different ideas of what's acceptable. They're like, what's right? You know what I'm saying? Because the most outrageous thing would be is that if you have a opposite sex friend and you do all the things, most of the things that you shouldn't say or do with that person, like those are the people that cross the line. They're the line steppers or whatever, right? Like those line steppers, right? Like you know what the line is, but you still just your toe on it. The toe on that line right there, okay? And they line steppers, man. Like you do have those people that are like that. Like you probably literally had that conversation with them 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times already, and we still hitting that line right there. Like
you shouldn't make it that long though.
I was about to say,
come on. You had that conversation once, then they do it again. You gotta kick them off.
Right.
They're obviously not really trying to hear it. They just trying to stay in the zone long enough to be able to catch that line again, like you said, and hopefully get through.
Right.
And they're not beneficial for the relationship
at all.
They waiting on y'all argument to come up. And they go,
exactly. That's what I was talking about. You got to be mindful of those and their intentions and their motives.
They waiting on that argument. They waiting.
Mm-hmm.
They waiting every day.
Right.
I'm just saying. That's another one of those little speeds there. You have people that are line steppers,
The thing is, if they allow to step that line that many times, that's a problem.
Yes. And you need to address your partner at that point.
Yeah. Because your partner might want, maybe they trying to keep the back door open. Yeah. Maybe they trying to, juggle 2, 3, they're trying to do something with that person. They're trying to get some gains, and that's a problem.
Get some gains.
Get some gains. They're trying to get some gains.
Yeah, I mean that could be the case.
That's definitely the case.
Yeah, that could be the case, but sometimes people idea of commitment and what a relationship should be is different too. I think that a lot of people get kind of stuck in trying to explain to people what they want out of a relationship. Like, this is what I want. This is how that looks. And when you try to explain that to someone else, they hear it differently, right? Like they hear it, but they put it in from their standpoint, and then you still don't get what you need from that whole situation. But I've seen that. Like I've seen couples that are like that. Like you explain to a person, hey, this is kind of what's right? Or this is kind of what needs to be done in a relationship. It just don't turn out that way. Mm-mm. So that's kind of why this whole principle of opposite sex friends came up. Because like I said, it's easy to blur the lines there. Like it's very easy to kind of blur lines there when it comes to like friends that you've had for a long time versus any type of new friends that you may bring into hopefully not a current relationship, but but people do that too.
Yeah. I have a question. And we don't have to go into detail, but I'm curious about both of your thoughts. What if you or your partner has had a friend for years, childhood friend, college friend, whatever, and they make the statement to you, or maybe you, if you believe in this, have made the statement before, well, this friend was before you and they're going to be here after you. And I'm not, so this friend is always going to be here in my life. And, they may come first before you. They may, pick up the phone and call, and your partner, or maybe you get up and run because your friend who's been around longer than your partner is now in the picture, or your friend who's been around longer than your partner has, called or requested for you to come over, or they need your help, or whatever the case may be. Or let's just say there's an issue with your friend being a part of now your relationship, and your partner's like, I'm not comfortable with this friend. And you or your partner states, well, they were here before you and they're going to be here after you. Hearing that, or either saying that, like, what are y'all's thoughts on that?
My thoughts on that is I actually was involved in a situation like that. Yeah.
In what way? In what scenario?
Well, a person that I was with a long time ago had an issue with my friend that, I had 20 years.
Okay.
And the issue that they had with the person was the fact that I just had an opposite sex best friend, and that's it. Like that's the only issue that they had. Like it wasn't like no type of disrespectful type situation. It wasn't like any bad behavior or any lame thing like that. It was just more of the fact that they were just an opposite sex person. And what I got from that is that what I've learned from that is that when you meet anybody, right? Like when you first meet someone and you start talking about, hey, your life and the people that may be in your life and stuff like that, that's the assessment period, right? Like that's the individual assessment period for a person to know and realize, okay, these are the people that this person has in their life. These are the people that I have in my life. Are they going to be cool? Like, are they going to be okay with these relationships that we have, right? Because I don't think that if two people get together and merge lives or whatever, I don't think that anybody should force another person to choose, right? Like to force that choice like that. Because, like I said, that's a small thing about control there. Like it ends up being like a little control thing. Like if your partner chooses to say that, hey, yeah, maybe this person's not right for being in my life, then they should go ahead and make that decision to excommunicate that person or whatever. But I'm not a big, I guess, advocate for the force thing. Like for someone else to tell you who you should have in your life, that never sticks. Like that's not a long-term fix, because all that does is build resentment and all that other kind of stuff. Because when a person feels forced, they feel like, they don't have choice, and obviously that means that their back is against the wall, and then that makes them resent the person. So, but yeah, that's my take on that. But yeah.
So let me ask it this way. So let's say you are with someone, wife or whatever, and your wife has a long childhood friend, and you see some things about this childhood friend that you're like, yeah, no, this isn't a good friend to have around because of whatever you may pick up on, things that you may have heard, things that you can kind of tell, like, maybe be inappropriate or disrespectful or whatever. And you have the conversation with your partner and you express to them, your thoughts and your feelings on this. But if your partner says to you, well, this person has been around before you, so either you can stay or you can go, but they're not going anywhere. What are your thoughts on that situation? You being on the receiving end of that conversation.
Well, I mean, it essentially still goes essentially the same way. You still have to meet a particular criteria to be in a relationship, right? So if they have that friend or whatever the case may be, let's look at the criteria. Like if they been together or been around each other 20 years, whatever the case may be, is there any history of inappropriate
Yes.
stuff or whatever.
So yeah, in this scenario, yes.
Yeah. So that would be a conversation for them to figure out, okay, this is my concern, right? This is some of the things that I'm concerned about, is that person, since you guys have had that type of history together, I'm uncomfortable with that person because of this particular reason, because I don't know if that person still feels that way, right? Or if they still have those types of feelings for you. So this is the concern. You just bring it to that person, and like they have to make a decision from there. But I don't think that I would just, you need to excommunicate somebody or something like that, because it just turns into what I just said in the reverse angle. Like you're telling the person that they should do something, and if they don't know that they should be doing something, then maybe that person is not the right person for you. You know what I'm saying? Like that person may not be that individual for you if they don't know if that is right? If that looks right in a relationship. That's my thing on that. But I think communication is everything. Like you should communicate that in a way where it doesn't feel like you're telling a person that they should get rid of somebody. Right.
Totally agree. What's your thoughts, Emmanuel, on that situation, that scenario where you're being told, you're telling your partner, like, hey, like this friend, they're, you see the disrespect. You are hearing the inappropriate conversations. They're calling late at night or whatever. And your partner, your girlfriend, your wife or whatever says, well, I'm not getting rid of my friend. They were there before you. So what would be your take on that situation, or your thoughts on that situation?
So yeah, I agree with Josh. I agree with what Josh said. The next thing I think about is, if this is somebody that's been around that long, I probably would have become aware of this way before we got married, right? So it probably wouldn't have gotten that far. And as soon as I kind of picked up on it, I would have. I'm slow to, like, me personally, I'm slow to address things, because I'm big on freedom. So I'm slow to address things. So I say that because if I'm addressing something, I got this happened. So I'm gonna say, all right, hey, I don't really know about this guy. I'm feeling like just same thing Josh said. I feel like I'm not comfortable with some of the things, some of the influences that he's bringing to you, which is ultimately coming to me, because we're looking at coming together, and we may need to look at his role in your life, whatever that looks like. But that's gonna happen pretty early, in my opinion. So I won't be as attached to the point where I feel like I have to stay, right? Because sometimes if it happens too late, you feel like you're trapped, right? It's just like, I've invested so much into this. It's been so long. I'm trapped now because she's choosing him and I love her, and but it's going to happen a lot. Ideally, things can happen in weird ways, but ideally it'll happen before I get to that point, so I can still feel free enough to say, all right, no, this isn't it for me.
Yeah.
Got it. Makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Your thought, Nrgy? You good?
So for me, it's all about respect. Period. Point blank. If I have to even have that conversation with my partner, I'm seeing the disrespect. They see it as well, but they're brushing it off. They're like, oh, that's such and such means such and such. For me, it's like, well, if we're working on having a future together, we're working on committing our lives together, we're building things together, we're a team, we're intermingling everything in every parts of our lives. This kind of goes to one of our topics a couple of weeks ago, or maybe last week, when we were talking about, your spouse or your parent. Yeah. It's like, for me, it's priority. Like if I'm committing my life to you and you say that you're committing your life to me, then no one, especially not a friend, should come before me. You know what I'm saying? So that's just my thoughts on it. I wouldn't, say anything like, oh, well, you have to. No, it's going to be a choice. And based off of that person's choice, well, then, let me know what I need to do. But yeah, I'm all about the respect thing. And I'm not gonna be in a relationship with someone who puts their friend above me. Nah.
Yeah.
But it's their choice at the end of the day. But based off of their choice will then let me know what I need to do next.
You said it in such a polite way. Like, just, you know.
I mean, you know, it's very simple. You want your friend home, no worries. Bow out gracefully.
Based on your choice.
If you can't change your situation, then you change your situation.
Exactly. I'm gonna control what I can control, you know?
I can't change that, so I'm gonna change myself.
That's what she's saying. Yeah, that's what she's saying. Okay.
Hey.
Shoot.
That's it.
That's straight up.
Yeah.
That's simple. Because I'm not about to be competing with your time and, you know.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense right there. So, another great episode of Adding Perspective with Josh. I'm Josh.
We ended it on a nice one. I'm Coach Nrgy.
And I'm Emmanuel.
We out.
Yes, sir.